This place is so great. You're gonna love it. And why are you wearing sunglasses inside? It's the style. Why do I take you anywhere? Good evening. Welcome to Romances. We're so happy to have you with us tonight. What is your dessert? Tonight's featured dessert is the cinnamon roll, like every night. I love a good cinnamon roll. Hero. So what are we thinking about getting? Yeah, I'll have the third act breakup. You would order that. And you? I would like to order this. Now, it says there's a lot of nuzzling. Oh, yes. Is there a lot of nuzzling? Plenty of nuzzling. Because I like a lot of nuzzling. Lots of nuzzling. I mean, I love nuzzling. So much nuzzling. You're sure? Yes. You're sure there's enough? Mm-hmm. Is there? Absolutely. Is there plenty of nuzzling though? Yes. Just order already. All right, well, I'll order that then. Thank you. I'll put that in for you. Well, here you are. Hi, my name's Bee and welcome to my channel, Mama Needs to Read Romance. And order her perfect man. Happy New Year. I hope your 2024 is off to a great start. It's that time of year again. I get to tell you about mostly Christmas books I read in January. Just when everybody really wants to hear about Christmas books, right? I guess a great place to start would be my stats for the year for 2023. I changed my Goodreads challenge goal multiple times during the year because I kept exceeding it. And finally, when I said 225 and I exceeded that, I just kept it. I wound up reading 247 books in 2023, which was pretty cool and also crazy. Like I said in my live stream the other day, I initially said I wanted to read 250 books in the year 2024, but almost immediately Goodreads started telling me that I was behind, which was stressing me out, so I changed it to 200. I'm just sticking to 200. I don't need that stress from Goodreads, no thank you. But let's talk more about what happened in December. In December, I read 7 historical romances, 7 contemporary romances, 5 paranormal romances, 5 alien romances, 4 sports romances, 1 fantasy romance, and 1 cozy mystery. 4 of those books were ARCs, or advanced readers copies, for a total of 30 books. That is a lot. Many were novellas. I also had 3 DNFs, and I'm not counting them here because this video is already going to be long enough. I read 5 5-star books, 7 4.5-star books, 9 4-star books, 5 3.5-star books, 1 2.5-star book, 2 2-star books, and 1 1-star book. Overall, a really great reading month. Because I was reading so many novellas for my vlogs for Vlogmas, I wound up reading a slew of new to me authors, 20 in total. Some were hits and some were misses, and they included names such as Emily E.K. Murdoch, Valia Lind, Mary Kay Andrews, Mimi Matthews, Macy Blake, Brenda Trim, Ella Maven, Tammy Julka, Linda Townsend, Danielle Garrett, Julie L. Spencer, Mira Lynn Kelly, Penelope Gerhart, B.K. Borison, J. Nicole, Luna Voss, Charity Wells, Callista Dane, Kate Richards, and Liz Paffel. And that was a fun adventure. Oh my gosh, let's start talking about them. You guys have told me how incredible Holiday by Gaslight was by Mimi Matthews, and you are not wrong. This book is so proper. It's so buttoned up, but so beautiful at the same time. And somehow in the way that it was so straight-laced, made it that much more precious when you see real feelings starting to develop between Sophie and Ned. They have a marriage of convenience started off, but Sophie sees no actual interest for her, so she decides to break it off. This is before they're supposed to spend the holiday at his family's country estate, so they decide to keep up pretenses. And in realizing that it's all going to fall apart, they no longer have a reason to be fake with one another. All the real thoughts and emotions start to come out, and as they start to really fall, it was just so beautiful and magical. If you haven't read this yet, I mean, maybe it would be good for winter time, but add it to your December TBR. It was perfection. I just loved it. Oh my gosh, here's another one that just swept me away. And even the cover, I mean, the cover reflects the beauty that's found within the pages of this book. Orchids and Mistletoe by Kate Bateman. This is book 3.5 of the Secrets and Spies series. I haven't read the series yet, but it didn't matter. It does make me want to read the whole series, I will tell you that. Now, the title Orchids and Mistletoe, I don't want to give anything away, but these plants are very unique and very special, and there's a reason that Kate Bateman chose to name it Orchids and Mistletoe. It was really next level. I was very impressed. We have Kit and Emma. They're childhood friends. She had a crush on him though. He was best friends with her older brother. The thing that bonds them in this novella is that Kit and Emma are still both grieving the loss of Emma's brother, which was Kit's best friend. In fact, Kit was with Andrew at the last moments of his life. They were prisoners of war together. So there are some bittersweet moments and some very serious moments in this novella. The two of them fight their attraction as she ends up staying in his home, his giant estate at Christmas time. There's really no one else there because Kit has been broken and he doesn't feel like celebrating anything. She's there, by the way, because she needs his hothouse. She has an orchid that she wants to get named in his honor by the Horticultural Society. But the two of them together, oh my gosh, there's delicious scene after delicious scene. And then the finale was so swoon-worthy. I almost didn't try Lovelight Farms because I'd heard mixed things and I wasn't sure, but this wound up being a 5-star read for me. I adored it. As you saw in my intro, I am a sucker for nuzzling, and there is so much delicious nuzzling in this book. I actually reached out to BK Borison just to thank her for writing it. It really just sent me on this whole journey of goosebumps and chills and swooning so much. I just loved it. She gives her characters room to breathe, and it just felt slow, like honey just melting, or like melted chocolate. The slow burn was just mwah. Stella enters her Christmas tree farm, which is struggling, in a contest, and part of the contest is that it's supposed to be romantic, so she said that she and her boyfriend own the Christmas tree farm together. So Luca, who was like her best friend for 8 years, agrees to help her pull off this ruse. Or is it a ruse? It was so good. If you read this book, it pairs nicely with the song Ceilings by Lisley McAlpine. I'm gonna link that song below. If you've read it, listen to this song. It's just yummy. It's so perfect for so many contemporary romances, actually. It's just so good. Okay, now I have another Kate Bateman to tell you about. Can you tell I love Kate Bateman if you didn't notice from my awards show? If you didn't get a chance to check it out, she's actually in it. And man, does she do an incredible job. I was so impressed. She told me she was channeling her inner Sandra Bullock from Miss Congeniality. Anyway, let's talk about her book that just came out, Second Duke's the Charm. Oh my gosh, this book. It's book 1 of a new series, part of Her Majesty's Rebels. It's like Charlie's Angels, but with Queen Charlotte, maybe? These women know how to handle their business. Our main heroine, though, in this book is Tess. I'm really excited about the other gals and their stories, I'm just gonna say. But Tess is back on the scene. She's finally out of mourning. She'd been married to a guy that was old enough to be her grandfather. He passes away on their wedding night. She wants to get out there. She has so many secrets, though, and she's afraid that they're going to get found out. So she has to be very careful. And so she goes out to a house party and encounters a gentleman. She's wearing a mask. It's a masquerade. He's actually not wearing a mask, but they have a very steamy, spicy tryst. And later on, their hidden identities are both uncovered. They're very inconvenient for one another at first, but they wind up having to be together. I'm being vague on purpose because this is such a fun book, especially if you don't know everything. The love scenes in here were top notch. I have never seen a love scene that had suspense, humor, and heart in the same love scene? What? I was riveted to the page. Kate Bateman, she is the queen. This one is very much a departure from the other 5-star books, but I gave this 5 stars and I stand by it. Grumpy Alien Santa by Liz Paffel. It was really dear. It actually had me tearing up. Our heroine goes around the universe on missions to help various types of people, aliens, you name it. And one day she winds up accidentally stepping into a circle during a ceremony in which any women inside the circle can get claimed by a mate. We have Derek's. He's been watching our heroine, whose name I've forgotten and I didn't write in my review, which I always try to do that. Oh well. Anyway, he's been watching her. He really has feelings for her and he is so excited when he sees that she's accidentally in the circle. He takes advantage. He takes her back to his home. It's actually super cozy that he made for her, but he also accepts that she has to leave. He's so respectful and it was so bittersweet because she actually winds up leaving. And what he does after she leaves had me swooning, tearing up. It was so good. It does have a happy ending. It was funny. It had so much heart. It was spicy. It was a good time. I did not take the advice of the summary of Holidays and Soulmates, which told me not to read this until I'd read the series, The Thunderbird Academy. I get what they're saying because there were some spoilers about what happened. I had no idea I was going to enjoy this novella as much as I did. This was so sweet and it brought those Christmassy feels. We have Maddie and Aiden. Maddie and Aiden met 5 years prior when they were both students at the Thunderbird Academy. She's a witch, he's a wolf shifter. She's now a teacher at the academy and he is the head of the task force which protects that school as well as like the surrounding lands. One of the wolf shifters goes missing, so they have to go on a mission together to recover him. Everybody in this ensemble cast was so incredibly sweet. I just had all these cozy feels of just this great group of people who really love each other. Maddie and Aiden adore one another. Again, this was sweet, not spicy. There's a proposal too, which I am such a sucker for. I had such a great time, and at some point, I need to read Thunderbird Academy. Let's talk about Set the Record Straight, which I would like to go on record to say that Set the Record Straight is one of the best Friends to Lovers books I've ever read. This is by Hannah Bonham Young. It's a standalone. After having read the next series by her, I was really excited to try a holiday novella by this author. We have two women who have been friends for a very long time. Evan, who has been out for a long time, has had feelings for Clara. Clara has had boyfriends and has never been with a woman. But one day, they both need a fake date, a woman fake date. So they decide to fake date, and very rapidly, because again, this is a novella, Clara realizes the feelings that she has had for Evan all along might be more than just strict friendship. There's a lot of spice in this. It didn't always have the emotion that I was hoping for, which is why I didn't give this a full 5 stars, but I loved most of this. I loved the found family aspect, especially for Evan, who had felt cast aside because of the way that she identified, and I just love the idea of her finding love and family, which she did in spades in this book. It was just beautiful, and it did also bring those Christmassy feels, so I highly recommend this one. Let's talk about How the Dukes Stole Christmas. I apparently am reading one novella within this book every year. This past Christmas, I only read Tessa Dare's Meet Me at Mayfair. This hidden identity storyline was so much fun. James and Louisa start falling for each other, and James has no idea that Louisa is actually part of the family that he's intending to collect debt from, and it's going to ruin them. She knows, and she's trying not to tell him. It was so much fun watching them going around town in the winter, throwing snowballs, walking through the snow in the middle of the night together, falling for one another. I was thoroughly enchanted. Tessa Dare just never disappoints. So I had the pleasure to listen to The Mistletoe Motive by Chloe Leese. It's narrated by Aaron Mallon and Jacob Morgan, who I found out is also Zachary Weber. I had the biggest narrator crush on Zachary Weber and Jacob Morgan, and I had no idea it was the same person. I feel a little bit silly. Anyway, they did a gorgeous job narrating this super fun, Christmassy novella. I had all of the feels. As always, you know how I love a good swoon. I did that. Goosebumps, tearing up, all of the things. I loved the Christmas playlist that Chloe Leese tacked to the beginning of each chapter. Oh my gosh, so fun. I wound up listening to the songs too. It was great. We got Grumpy Sunshine here. Jonathan and Gabby are the co-managers of a failing bookshop at Christmas time. They both are vying now for the same position. They're not really friends either, but there might be an attraction. She's on the autism spectrum, which makes it hard for her to read his signals, and he is a bit aloof as well and a little secretive because he has something going on that makes it hard for him to connect to people sometimes as well. But I just loved how these two really just showered each other with love once they both allowed love in. It was so tender, so emotional. I really enjoy this and I highly recommend it. So I had never read Ella Maven before, but when I mentioned her in my alien romance vlog, so many of you were talking to me about how incredible Ella Maven is. I really enjoyed Baki, Stranded with an Alien. This is book 4.5 of the Outcasts of Corin series, which now I want to read the entire series. I have to read one thing that I said. I wrote, this novella has it all: fated mates, fighting, rescues, caretaking, mental health rep, spice, and a cinnamon roll hero with extra special equipment. I think that kind of sums it up. I already read book 3 of the Cider Shop Mysteries back in the fall, so I was really excited to go back to the beginning and read Cider Slaying, which is book 1 of the same series. I loved the enemies to lovers storyline that was just getting kicked off in this first book. I got to see more of it come to fruition in the 3rd book, so that was fun going back and seeing it from the beginning. The kittens, Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers, were so cute. I loved the pacing. It had me on the edge of my seat. There was danger that heroine is easy to love. The entire small town vibes were fantastic. I love the cider shop at Christmas time. How much fun. And of course, the mystery was interesting too. Julianne Lindsay also goes by Jacqueline Frost, so do be aware. I need to read more by this author, no matter what she calls herself. So I'm rereading all of Abby Jimenez in preparation for her Just for the Summer book, which is coming out in April. And I just got the ARC the other day. I've been so excited about that. In December, I reread the Happy Ever After playlist, which is book 2 of the Friend Zone series. This was narrated again by Zachary Weber and Aaron Mallon. I just love them so much. I originally gave it a perfect 5 stars, but then wound up downgrading it to 4.5 stars. So far down, just because our cinnamon roll hero's temper towards the end kind of aggravated me a little bit. It just made him fall from grace a bit, but he's supposed to be unraveling. This is what Abby Jimenez does. She sets us up with the cutest meet cute and then the most fun, yummy tension imaginable. The attraction is there. You're just waiting on the edge of your seat until it finally comes to fruition. Then it's all this fun. And then all these things happen. Jimenez just stomps your heart out. But then it all comes at the end to this wonderful, beautiful, happy ending, and you're just so glad. It's a journey, and I'm here for it. We have Sloane, who in the first book lost her fiance. It was devastating. And in this book, she gets to climb out of the grief that she's been in for years. And how does she do it? Initially, because a dog falls through her sunroof. And it turns out this dog is owned by a famous musician who is on tour. Sloane starts to come back to herself, taking care of this dog. And finally, when Jason is done with his tour, Sloane doesn't want to give up the dog. So the two of them start texting. It's immediately like the chemistry is there. It was so fun to watch them texting and then calling and then getting together. She doesn't realize at first that he's a very famous musician, and his star begins to ascend during this book, which could cause a problem. It was just so fun to see them navigate the hurdles of fame and for them to choose one another above all things. For her to find happiness at the end was just heaven. And again, we have a beautiful playlist. There's a fun song listed at the beginning of every chapter if you want to listen along. It was just tremendous. Now let's go into the land of the 4 stars. All I Want for Christmas is My Mating Stone, which is book 20.5 of the Dark Warrior Alliance. This novella integrated some things I don't often see in a novella. Spice, tons of fantastical and paranormal creatures. I mean, they throw everything at you. Heavy, heavy topics. And Christmas. So the deal with these mating stones is we have an ensemble cast. All of the women that have gotten married, they have mating stones which help them stay immortal. Well, all of a sudden, all of the mating stones have disappeared. This is a big problem, and the women's health starts to deteriorate rapidly. So they go on this mission that sometimes gets distracted by their attraction for one another to find these mating stones so that they can celebrate Christmas properly. So over the holidays, Kate Bateman made A Midnight Clear, which was a short story she wrote a while back as Casey Bateman, available for 99 cents. And you know I scooped that baby right up, and I'm so glad I did. I wound up really enjoying it. We have a Russian princess stranded in the snow, forced to stay at a brothel, but she quickly sees that it has its charms. And it's that evening that she steps into a gorgeously written snowy landscape and reflects on her enemies to lovers storyline that she had as a child with the gentleman who arrives on horseback as an adult to come whisk her away. It was so romantic until they started bickering. Hence the 4 stars. But they work it out. It's beautiful. It's magical. I loved seeing these childhood enemies to lovers find love at Christmas in the snow. It was gorgeous. This was such a fun surprise. Kindle Unlimited, Grimoires and Gingerbread, book 2 of the Sugar Shack Witch Mysteries. There's romance. It's a cozy mystery too, with a fun ensemble cast. We have sisters, they have a bakery, and they get into a fight, and they say never get into a fight with an air witch because she took like sugars and sprinkles and made like a tornado. It sounded like the most fun food fight ever. Anyway, that's not the point. I said I was going to try to get through this video quickly, and obviously I'm doing a terrible job. It's just too much fun to talk about these books, I tell you. There's a whole series, and most of them, I think all of them actually, are based in a season. In fact, Mermaids in Meringue is the New Year's book if you're looking to read a New Year's one. We have Rosella. She owns the bakery I was just talking to you about. They actually live in a town called Winterspell, which is only for magical folk. Her handsome love interest, Orion, a monster hunter, needs her help to solve the latest mystery, which includes an adorable elf from the North Pole. There was some suspense, but it was also heavily laden with cuteness and a little romance. It was fun and it was short. I highly recommend this, and I want to read this series. Let's talk about A Kilt for Christmas by Trisha O'Malley. This popped up out of nowhere on NetGalley, the audio at that, and I thought, well, heavens, yes, I have to do this. I'd already read books 2 and 3 via NetGalley. They're set in Lauren Bray, which is an enchanted small town, village, if you will, in present-day Scotland. We have women who are magical and the men who love them. It's spicy, it's fun, it never gets too deep or dark. It's a good time. There's a magical cow. I didn't know what a coo was. Apparently a coo is also a cow, and it's a ghost cow, and he winds up sort of being like a reindeer. But we have two people who are very much opposites attract. They get snowed in together. She actually winds up making a wish that makes it snow like crazy, which is a big cause of the problem. And our hero is a little bit buttoned up. Once they get together, it's very steamy. I was a little disappointed by the love scene, not including a conversation about safety, if that makes sense, if you know what I'm saying. They just kind of went for it, and I was like, that's a disappointment. I prefer responsibility in my romance. Anyway, okay, I digress again. Let's move on. Here comes another huge surprise. Dirty Christmas by Mira Lynn Kelly. This is book 5.5 of the Slayers hockey series. I didn't think this would suit me at all. I picked it because it was on the shorter side. Our hero and his best friend, they're both hockey players. They're very crude when they're talking to each other. I was just like, okay, this is kind of what I expected based on the title and the cover. I was like, okay, this is not going to be good. But the minute that our hero meets our heroine, we see he's a big flirt, which was fun. But then the real emotions start coming out. His friend runs off with her sister. They're gone. Our hero and heroine are now stranded with one another, and our heroine needs to get her house ready for Christmas because her parents are coming into town. He offers to help her out, and the most fun, steamy, attraction-laden scenes happen one after the other. I was seriously swooning. I was shocked. It was spicy. They do leave you wanting more. There's like a cliffhanger, a romantic cliffhanger at the end. So now I need to read Dirty Groom to see what actually happened. I couldn't believe how much fun I had with this spicy, sweet novella. Let's talk about another sports novella that I wound up giving 4 stars, Mary MVP. This is Espen Emperor's book 5.5. This is another one. I didn't really know the characters because I jumped in where I did. I just needed a novella, but I really had a good time. You can tell that these gentlemen are all so dear. The way that they loved each other as brothers, and then each of them had their own partner. The love just was so sweet. And of course, they're all together, not only for Christmas, which there was barely any Christmas at all. It was mostly about a wedding, which, okay, I'm already here for that anyway, but they were feeling amorous. So there was plenty of implied steam and like almost steam. So they're all trying to sneak away and no one's really doing a good job of it. It was really cute though. There was some spicy scenes. I was like, whoa, I did not expect that. It was so fun to see 2 of these sweet, sweet men get married. I just had all the warm, cozy, fluffy feelings as I was reading this, and it just makes me want to read this whole romance baseball series. Another 4-star was an alien romance that seems to be a departure from the rest of the series. The rest of the series looks a little scary to me, I'll be honest. This is A Curvy Gift for the Alien Warrior, which is book 5.5 in the Curzon Breeding Auction series. I don't know that I can do breeding auction. I was seriously feeling dread for the first like 30% of this novella, which I don't like to feel. Generally. We have Tessa. She's essentially an Amazon delivery person, basically, but on this alien planet, and it's Christmas Eve. She needs to make this delivery if she's going to get paid. So she takes a detour through some hostile alien territory, which she knows she's not supposed to do, but she figures, oh, just this once. Well, she immediately gets captured by a bad alien who tries to give her as a gift to a chief of an alien tribe in this territory. Thankfully, this is where I started to go, phew. The chief is a cinnamon roll hero. He is adorable, and he says, look, I'm glad you're with me because I'm going to return you to your home as soon as this storm blows over. But as they spend time together, they start to develop feelings. She's mostly just interested in seeing what it would be like to be with an alien, which I think basically they're just people but bigger. He seemed to develop feelings more quickly than she did. She also lost her dog. I'm like, come on, lady, you can't lose your dog. Although it did make for a very important dog rescue that he gets to do later, which was very heroic and very brave. I loved it. I had a good time with it. This will probably be my only foray into the breeding auction series. Yeah. I read a book about a different holiday aside from Christmas, believe it or not. Barbarian's Valentine. It's book 16.5 in the Ice Planet Barbarian series, and the next logical book to read since I've been reading Ice Planet Barbarians and the Ice Home series in the proper order. I have to go in the proper order. I've got the flow chart and everything from her website. This book was a lot of fun. I was reading the author's note and was so tickled to see that Ruby Dixon chose to focus on two couples because they're the most talked about couples by her fans. So she wanted to make them happy, and I thought that was so cool. Maddie and Hassan, and Josie and Hayden. I found this, like just about everything else Ruby Dixon writes, spicy, swoony, and just precious. They've been missing their men, so they decide to work together to make lingerie out of the furs to surprise their men and bring the spice back to their relationship. It was adorable. Okay, now I'm gonna go out of order because there's like a whole story here that I need to tell you. It's 3 books in a series. I read all of the series of novellas. It's hockey romances, but it's mainly small town. They're all by Penelope Gerhardt. What she's trying to accomplish in her novellas is that you never have to skim to get to the good part. These are really like soap operas. They're very melodramatic. There are constantly things happening. There's these alpha caveman type heroes sometimes. The attraction that they have to their women is really intense. Sometimes the spice gets off right away. And I had a problem sometimes with the spice because it almost felt like, at least to me, that they were sort of using their women despite the fact that they totally worshiped them. It just kind of felt like it conflicted in my mind. I would sometimes read the sweetest thing I've ever heard followed by the raunchiest thing I'd ever heard. So tonally, it felt all over the place. I ended up reading this entire series. I can't explain it. It was like a train wreck because there were just aspects that I loved, but just so intermingled with things that drove me crazy. But let's talk about each of them briefly on their own. We start with The Christmas Crush, which I gave 2.5 stars. This cover, oh my gosh, it got me so hard. Parts of this were good, like so incredible. And I think that's why I gave it 2.5 stars, because I loved some of it and I hated some of it. We have a gal who's moved back home with her family after having basically put her entire life on hold for her boyfriend since high school, Jack. And Jack has moved on. He's cheated, and she is nursing a broken heart and just trying to recover when the boy from next door, who's now grown into an incredible man who is extremely successful and has carried a torch for our heroine forever, gets a chance to show her just how much he has been in love with her all along. It was spicy, too spicy, but also swoony. I loved seeing them wind up together mostly, and the ending was so over the top but fun at the same time. It was terrific. So then we get to the Reindeer Games, which I gave 3.5 stars to. That's a whole star higher than the first book. This was an enemies to lovers romance that was started in the first book. So I really wanted to see, honestly, what happened. Yes, there was some crazy spice. Yes, again, it felt a little bit like sort of using her. Again, in the series, we don't seem to be worried about being responsible while we're loving on each other. I don't really get that. It kind of bothers me. But anyway, I love how the author made a special twist at the end for like female empowerment. It was fantastic. We again have like a caveman guy, but we see like really intense love and attraction. And again, it was like just over the top melodrama, lots of fun, a great ending. The third book in the series, The Gingerbread House, I actually gave 4 stars to. This is enemies to lovers. They've known each other since they were 15. There is some anxiety rep in this, which I loved. There was a slow build actually to the spice, which was a really satisfying way to build up the story. This one, I don't think the author felt the pressure to just throw spice in everywhere. And I think the payoff was better. I loved how they got stranded in a snowstorm. They wound up working together and realizing some of the damage that they did to one another when they were teens. And the chance for them to find redemption in one another was really beautiful. I loved the end as well. Again, we're just over the top fun endings. I actually do recommend it, but do keep in mind the things that I said about the spice. Now let's get into the 3.5 star books. I've got 5 of those. We'll start with Eldon Christmas Sprites, Book 3. These are all romances set in a cute Christmassy village. It's magical too. And these sprites, they're like elves. And when they feel love, they experience even more magic. In this one, we have a man who wants to come to town to buy out the cute, quaint store and turn it into a chain. It's a whole save the cute shop theme. which you see often in Christmas books, movies, etc. Eldon, who's not about to let that happen. There is so much banter back and forth. These two enemies to lovers are quite spicy together, and Tate flirts so hard with Eldon. I don't know if I've ever seen such intense flirting. If you love flirting, go with this one. Last year, I absolutely fell in love with Mary Jo Putney, A Bleak Midwinter. This year, I really wanted to read another novella. I keep saying this year. It was a few weeks ago, and it was technically last year. Anyway, I really wanted to read another Mary Jo Putney novella for Christmas, and she has quite a few. So I was excited to choose One Wicked Winter Night, but this one didn't quite hit the mark. We have teen lovers that weren't able to stay together, and they were both heartbroken over the lost love that they both experienced. And then 7 years later, after they've given up hope of ever even seeing one another again, they are thrust into one another's lives. It was really intense because immediately they both realized that they never stopped loving one another. But she is trying to move on, and she feels like he broke her heart. She doesn't have the full side of the story. So how does he get her to talk to him? He steals her cat and then forces her to chase him to a cabin in the middle of the woods in the middle of a snowstorm. They finally come together in the snowstorm. It was lovely. And then it just kind of kept going. I just kept reading going, why are we still, what's happening? Did someone forget to say cut? This one was super different. A Very Alien Christmas Tree by Charity Wells. I think this is the first time I've ever read a human man and an alien woman. It was really interesting. She has an attraction to him immediately. She decides to start showing him in ways that mean a lot to her species, but he doesn't realize it. He winds up researching her species because he develops feelings for her as well. But in his research, discovers that she is trying to start a bond with him. And then he has to ask himself, do I want to do this? He's supposed to be moving away to another planet. He has a daughter. It was very interesting watching how she bonded with the daughter. It was really different, but I found it fascinating. So I got a chance to revisit Anna Bennett in a holiday novella this year, which was so much fun. The Mistletoe Bow. This book was mostly adorable, with a twist and like a fallout that drove it from 4 stars to 3.5 in my mind. Eva wants her father's pocket watch back, which Jack won fair and square in a game of cards. He's only going to give it back despite the fact that Eva like snuck into his apartment to try to get it. It was pretty funny. And the striptease he does while she's singing, oh my gosh, it was classic. He's only going to give her the pocket watch back if she agrees to a fake courtship over the holidays. So she does, and then we see this fiery, chemistry-laden, enemies to lovers pair, which was so fun to watch. The setting was super charming as well. There's a super fun declaration of love at the end. Oh, I just love those. I can't wait to read more Anna Bennett in this year, 2024. What year is it? Let's talk about my 2-star. This may not be popular, so take my opinion with a grain of salt, because a lot of people feel very differently than I do, but I gave The Santa Suit by Mary Kay Andrews 2 stars. I buddy read this with my friend Tara of Tara Talks Books. She also gave this a higher rating than I did, but I will admit I had a chip on my shoulder because there's not a whole lot I can say because I don't want to give away anything, but there was something that happened that I did not like, so I read the rest of the book not very happy. I wish I could say more. It's a great premise. Ivy is looking for a fresh start. She buys a farmhouse that's a little dilapidated. It's a fixer-upper, and luckily her neighbor is going to help her restore it because she really doesn't know what she's doing. She's recovering after a fallout from a bad relationship. She really does need a fresh start. It turns out that her neighbor might be a perfect new love interest for her. The thing that makes this so interesting and why this book is titled The Santa Suit is that she finds an old Santa suit in this closet of this old farmhouse that has a letter in it from a little girl who's asking Santa to bring her daddy home from the war. So a lot of this book is either romance, small town feels, Christmassy fun, and trying to solve this mystery. I loved the really interesting twist at the end, but again, I wound up only giving this 2 stars because I just didn't like some of the twists and turns. So I know it's not a popular opinion. You'll be shocked to know that this book, Carrie's Christmas Viking, with this cover only got 2 stars, right? This is a paranormal novella that I read that I was confused by. We have a Viking who gets on the bad side of a witch hundreds of years ago, and she turns him into an inanimate object. And as time passes, over hundreds of years, he becomes whatever material they mostly use, whether it's wood or plastic. At one point, he's like a plastic toy that a little girl takes into the bathtub with her. And then she does it when she's an adult too, which is kind of strange. And as she grows, then he develops an attraction for her. It was weird. Okay, so the romance aspect was not to my taste at all. It was just weird. The idea of an inanimate object coming to life to protect a woman that he loves, and the magic parts were interesting too. So, and we will close with my 1 star. Aren't you glad you're still here? It's A Touchdown for Christmas by J. Nicole. There was no touchdown and there was no Christmas. It was another wedding novella. She's getting ready for her wedding and everything is going wrong. It was just stressful. It was not fun at all. She is a very accomplished dentist and he is like a caveman. They seem like they're from 2 different books. The way he talked to her and thought about her was so crude and lewd. She's talking about love, romance, and just stressing out, whereas he's just really interested in getting into her pants. I did give it 1 star because the wedding scene at the end where he shows some actual emotion and care, that was much better. Well, you've done it. You've made it through my review of 30 books. How did you do it? You deserve an award. Here it is. In keeping with my awards show. I'm actually losing my voice from all the talking I've just done. Oh my gosh. Let me know what you enjoyed in 2023 or what you didn't enjoy. Just tell me anything you want. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're enjoying whatever it is you're reading, whether it's 2024 or not, which I'm sure it is. I don't remember what year it is, people. Until next time, thanks so much. Take care. Bye.